We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Batman Reptilian, Issue 1. This is a mini-series from DC Comics under their Black Label imprint, written by Garth Ennis, with art, colors, and cover by Liam Sharp, Rob Steen letterer. We start off with Batman confronting a guy who got off the hook for a crime. Batman confronts him out in the open. The guy takes a swing at him, and Batman's got to put him down and says self-defense. Good times. But then Batman finds out something went down with Scarecrow and the Hatter, and it looks like they may have been really badly injured. We also learned that the Riddler and Penguin may be dead, and it seems to stem from an incident when all the villains got together and were plotting against Batman. And Batman interrogates a thug for the majority of the issue, and we're left with a cliffhanger ending that suggests there is a new player in Gotham. Overall, I have to say the paper quality is fantastic for the issue. The art style really reminds me a lot of Arkham Asylum, the Grant Morrison one-shot. The only complaints I have about the art is that Joker looks a little goofy. Beyond that, I thought the art style, especially with Batman, was really good. The story looks pretty interesting. I'm actually kind of impressed with that. It looks like an Elseworlds book, and Black Label's kind of their Elseworld imprint now. I don't know why they just didn't keep Elseworlds. But I was actually intrigued by where this was going. It looks like it's going to be a very mature storyline with a lot of graphic violence and a really dark undertone. So I'm intrigued to see where it goes, and I'm glad I picked up issue 2 because I'm gonna jump right into that. This was a pretty fascinating story, and Garth Ennis didn't try any of his usual goofy over-the-top stuff, at least not yet, and it really hooked me from the beginning of the story, so I look forward to reading issue 2. For the $5 price point, it's probably overpriced. The paper quality is nice, but I don't know that it was worth $5 because for the price of the individual issues, you could have just bought the hardcover. So this is probably going to be one that I'm going to recommend in trade. Whether you get it in hardcover or paperback, probably the price point is going to be about the same for the single issues. So I would say try and get it at a discount or just wait and get it in the collected format. That being said, I did enjoy it though, and I didn't feel overly cheated for my money. I just think $5 is a pretty ridiculous price point for a comic book. So I would rather read it through and see if it's better to get it in trade, because that's what it's most likely going to be, is get it in the collected format instead of paying $5 a piece for the single issues. But pretty fun stuff so far. That'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description for my merchandise stores and the other methods of support. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Batman Reptilian Book 2. This is a mini-series from DC Comics under their Black Label imprint from 2021. Written by Garth Ennis. Art, colors, and cover by Liam Sharp. Rob Steen letterer. Jessica Chen edited the book. Ben Mears was the assistant editor. Marie Javins group editor. Batman manages to find Penguin struggling to hold on to life. He's very badly mangled, and Batman doesn't get a lot of information out of him, but he gets a couple of ideas. He's back at the Batcave. Alfred's still giving him a little bit of crap over what happened at the beginning of issue 1 with a sort of snide, dry wit. And Batman's informant explains that the Joker's in hiding, and Batman gets a lead on where to look for Mr. Freeze and Ivy. And when he goes there, things are really messy. Looks like things aren't going too well for the Rogues Gallery, but Batman gets a clue as to why people are being targeted the way they are, and it has to do with that meeting that they were all at on Friday. That gives Batman kind of an understanding of what he might be dealing with, maybe not as a creature, but as to its motivations. Overall, it's a pretty good story. There's a lot of large panels though, and it's very artsy, a little bit abstract at times, and that makes it a little bit difficult because you're not getting a whole lot to work with, but the panels are really dark. I think it's very atmospheric. It does work. Is it worth $5 though? Not really. It seemed like there was a little bit lacking substance-wise in this issue, and the large panels always make me think that. But a lot did happen in this issue, so it moved the plot along. But again, I'm really leaning toward this one is going to be better enjoyed as a trade than it is as single issues. So if you're thinking of picking this one up, I would probably wait until it's collected, but I really do like the art. This issue's art was fantastic. It's not going to appeal to everyone, but if you liked Grant Morrison's Arkham Asylum, it's got a very similar atmosphere to that, mixing the grittiness of the filth of the city with the crime elements and with Batman in there. It has a great look to it. It just comes off as a little bit too physically dark, not just theme-wise. The theme's fine in its darkness, but in the visuals, the darkness really does seem a little too heavy. But I'm really enjoying the story, so I'm going to read issue 3, and hopefully that'll continue to be at least as good as the first 2 issues. So I am going to recommend this, but like I said, buying the single issues, price point's just not viable. So if you could get it cheaper, I would definitely say do that, or buy it as a collected volume. Hopefully it pays off. We'll find out with the next couple issues, but until then, that'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links to my merchandise store and various means to support me are listed in the description. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Batman Reptilian issue 3. This is a 6-part miniseries from DC Comics Black Label imprint, written by Garth Ennis, art, colors, and cover art by Liam Sharp, Rob Steen letterer, edited by Jessica Chen, assistant editor Ben Mears, Marie Javins group editor. Now this is a Black Label book, so it's an Elseworlds book. Batman and Alfred stand around trying to figure out what's going on. Most of Batman's rogue gallery is either wiped out, crippled, or hospitalized, leaving only Killer Croc and the Joker. Well, while Batman's trying to track down what's going on and speculating on what, if anything, Killer Croc may have had to do with this, or even what Killer Croc really is, the Joker takes a bunch of hostages and Batman has to figure out how to take him down. Thankfully, his man on the inside is able to be useful, and it's down to Batman and the Joker, but things don't really work out the way the Joker wants. Overall, the story was really solid. It was a good issue, a good kind of side quest for Batman to have to deal with during the course of the miniseries. My only complaint would be the absolutely stupid and boring interaction where he and Alfred talk about the economic disadvantaged. That was dumb. It was a brief exchange, but it was stupid and annoying. Just ham-fisted left-wing politics wedged in there for the sake of getting some internet pee-pee touches or to get people off his back. And it's really kind of anti-Garth Ennis history anyway, because although he may be pretty progressive, it seems like he's pandering a little bit here, and that really seems to go against his more edgy days. So maybe he's getting soft in his old age. I don't know. Overall, though, the story was fun, and the art is really solid. It is a bit visually dark, so you'll want to read this in a brightly lit room. Liam Sharp's new style is very interesting. Not a huge fan of the way he's been drawing the Joker through most of this, because he looks kind of goofy, and not in a fun way, but just kind of a, like, what's wrong with your face kind of way. But overall, I do like the art. It's pretty solid stuff, and it has a very Arkham Asylum feel, so I think it's very well done as far as the book goes. So I'm going to recommend this issue. So far, this miniseries has been pretty solid, and I'm looking forward to reading the next issue. That's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description for my merchandise store and other ways to support me. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Batman Reptilian Book 4. This is the 4th part of a 6-part miniseries from DC Comics under their Black Label imprint, written by Garth Ennis, art, colors, and cover by Liam Sharp, Rob Steen letterer, edited by Jessica Chen, group editor Marie Javins. Batman has finally tracked down Wayland, better known as Killer Croc, who has been feeding on the homeless in the underground of Gotham City. Now we're told a long story about how things may have played out, and how Wayland doesn't really seem to understand what's going on, and Batman has to lay it out for him. Now, I can't say too much more about the issue without giving away one of the twists, but we do get an overview of Wayland's possible origin story, and the art is really solid. It's very creepy looking, very surrealist, very much like a Batman version of H.R. Geiger in a lot of parts. And the art works really well. Although there are some panels that do look like they were recycled, it does have a really unique unique look to it. And overall, I would have to say this was a really, really interesting story. The downside is that a lot of Wayland's background is told through Batman's narrative, but we're not shown any flashback images. It's still them just standing around for the most part. There are a couple of images, but it really could have been recounted with some more interesting flashback stuff, but that's a pretty minor complaint. Overall, it was an interesting issue. I didn't feel cheated for my money, and I really do like the art style. I think it's got a very memorable look, and it's a much bigger departure from Liam Sharp's regular work, which I do tend to like a little bit better, like his work in the Brave and the Bold miniseries with Wonder Woman. I really love that style. This is a significantly different art style. It's much more abstract and loose than that one is, and it works. Liam Sharp is an incredibly talented artist, but it's not going to appeal to everyone, and the story is a bit strange, so that's going to throw a few people off, especially with this issue. But I thought it was really intriguing, and it shows that Garth Ennis can be a really good writer when he sets his mind to it and he's not trying to be silly. So I'm absolutely going to recommend this. You'll want to read the first couple parts just to get caught up with what's going on, because the impact of this issue is really going to be minimized if you jump in here. It's going to affect how you view the story, and it'll ruin a little bit of the shock value of what's meant to be going on here. And I don't mean that in the, like, oh my gosh, look at that twist. No, it's more like this makes sense within the context of the story and within the context of Wayland's origin as laid out in this issue. But it would be diminished with that surprise by jumping straight into this issue. So I'll recommend it, but I think this is going to be best read as a graphic novel format. So if you can pick it up in trade paperback and just read it straight through, I think you're going to be better off, and you'll probably like the story more. So if you can find the issues really cheap, I would say pick them up, but because they primarily are really nice quality, it's some of the best comic quality I've seen out of DC in a long time, especially at $5. And yeah, they're regular comic length, but the paper quality is phenomenal. But I would absolutely think that this is a much better read as a collected work. So if you can find it that way, that would be my preferred method of reading it again, as opposed to single issues. But I've already got the single issues, so kind of ruined that for myself on this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description for my merchandise store and other ways to support me. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Batman Reptilian Book 5. This is a 6-part miniseries from DC Comics Black Label imprint, which means it's an Elseworld story. Written by Garth Ennis, art, colors, and cover by Liam Sharp, Rob Steen letterer, edited by Jessica Chen, Marie Javins group editor. Batman and Killer Croc have come face to face with the creature that's been tearing apart the Rogues Gallery. We learned why last issue and its connection to Wayland, but now the creature is trying to get something out of Croc that he can't provide, and in some cases won't, and it goes after them, but they manage to hide out, and Batman calls in the only other survivor of that meeting, which becomes a distraction for the creature, and Batman and Croc are able to get out. But as Batman plans a trap, some idiot bird watchers get in the way and refuse to leave. So we're set up with an interesting conundrum, and we've got a crazy cliffhanger ending. Overall, this issue was really solid. The banter between Batman and Croc was pretty fun. Batman actually cracks a few jokes, because of course he finds this fairly amusing, even if it is a pretty dire situation. Now we do get to see Batman being a hero, and of course the art is fantastic. It's very abstract. It's definitely not going to appeal to everyone, but I thought it was really well done. It's an interesting change from what Liam Sharp usually does, and although I prefer his work on Brave and the Bold, the miniseries with Wonder Woman, this was really good. But as I said previously, this is probably going to be better enjoyed as a collected work than as individual issues. I think you'll get more out of the story that way, and you'll be able to appreciate the art in an oversized format, because as individual issues, if you jump in after issue 1, you're going to be a little bit confused, or you're going to not be able to appreciate the storyline for what it is, because overall it is a really interesting story, and I think it's a lot better than what Tynion was doing on Batman around the same time, and Mariko Tamaki as well, because a lot of the regular Batman books are kind of boring and show him as more of a supporting character in his own book. This doesn't do that. This this is primarily a Batman story with his rogues gallery and Alfred more as supporting cast. So far I'm enjoying this quite a bit. We'll see how issue 6 plays out, but so far this is a pretty solid recommendation. It's a lot of fun and it's an interesting premise. So if you get a chance to pick it up, I would say do it as a collected work and not as individual issues, unless you can find all the individual issues really cheap. I would rather get this as a collected work and put it on a bookshelf in a nice format so that I can appreciate the quality art and interesting story all together at once instead of as individual issues. That'll do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links are in the description to my merchandise store and other ways to support me, and as always, we hope to see you on the next one. Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Batman Reptilian Book 6. This is the final installment of the DC Comics miniseries from 2021 in their Black Label imprint, which is basically just Elseworlds. This is written by Garth Ennis, art, colors, and cover by Liam Sharp, letters by Rob Steen. Jessica Chen was the editor, Marie Javins group editor. Now, Batman's in a precarious situation after the events of last issue, and he manages to come up with a plan, but it's a pretty crazy one. And really, this issue is just kind of wrapping up the story. The big event happens right at the beginning, and then subsequent stuff happens. And we find out the fate of Killer Croc and that other survivor that Batman's been kind of using as a decoy or bait this entire time. It really kind of sums things up very quickly. It's a very fast-paced issue, but it's mostly just wrap up. Now, overall, the art's fine. There's a couple pages I didn't care for, especially when the ejector seat scene happens. I'm not going to show that because it was a full-page panel, but that one was just kind of silly and looked like something out of Mad Magazine. Otherwise, the art was pretty solid, and there's some really cool stuff that happens in here, and I was really excited to finish the series. I thought it was a lot of fun. There's a little pitch thing in the back, so you can kind of see what Garth Ennis wanted to do with it, and I thought that was kind of neat to read the pitch. But overall, this issue is not going to make any sense on its own. You really have to have been reading the miniseries for this to make any coherent sense at all. Otherwise, it'll be very, very disappointing. And because of the way this issue was structured is why I think that this was intended as a graphic novel and not a miniseries. They were just planning ahead to turn it into a trade paperback / graphic novel, and they should have just done that because I think it would have been better for it. At $5 a piece, these are a little pricey. The paper is really nice quality, but it's overpriced for what you're really getting. Now, I enjoyed the series quite a bit, but I would absolutely say get this in trade and read it as a single issue story in a single sitting. I think you'll enjoy it a lot more, and you'll get more out of it, and it'll make much more coherent sense. And I would absolutely recommend getting it because I thought it was a lot of fun. I would only say get the single issues if you can get them really cheap. I don't see this being a massive classic or anything, but it's definitely worth a read. It's a pretty solid Batman story, and I thought overall it was a really, really well done piece. A few minor issues with some of the art, but that was really, really small compared to what I really saw with most of the art, which was phenomenal work. So I will absolutely recommend this. I thought it was a lot of fun, and I'll probably buy it in trade and sell off my back issues, and I'll probably pick it up in trade paperback at some point because I thought it was a lot of fun. The single issues will probably be in a dollar bin in the near future, so I'd look for those there. But in the meantime, that's going to do it for this one. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help the channel out in other ways, links to my merchandise store and other ways to support me are in the description, and as always, we hope to see you on the next one.